What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Fight Inside Podcast. My name is Raine Cruz, also known as Ringside Raine. I'm the cage announcer for Up Next Fighting. Along with Timmy B, we are going to talk with one of the legendary voices in combat sports. We will also discuss Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk, also Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, and many more. So what are we waiting for? Tim, hit it! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Inside Podcast.
Our guest today is a living legend in the world of MMA. If you are a fight fan at all, then you know this man's voice. Doing play-by-play for Jiu-Jitsu Overtime, Icon Fighting Federation, CJJ Worlds, Island Fights, Quintet Ultra, and most notably for me, he was the longtime voice and where I really became a huge fan of his at Invicta Fighting Championships. He can also be heard currently hosting extra rounds on UFC Fight Pass. Be sure to check that out. Everybody, please welcome to the podcast, TJ DeSantis.
Wow. I've never had that kind of intro in my life before. That's pretty amazing.
You deserve it, of all people in the world, TJ.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you use the word living legend. Unfortunately, in my brain, that just sounds like he's old. Another nice way of saying that. But no, it's true. I've been around for a minute. My first MMA podcast started in May of 2004. And that's 19 years ago. So, geez. Wow.
That's before podcasts were even around. So how did that work?
I mean, that's the thing. Podcast to me is kind of a dirty word. So I started in FM radio. And when I heard the term podcast, I'd already done 80 episodes of my internet radio show at the time. And someone's like, you need to get the show on podcast. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And, slowly but surely podcast has become the preferred vernacular. But honestly, the FM radio guy in me hears podcast and I'm like, okay, so you went to Best Buy and you bought a microphone. Yeah. Good for you. That's great. But no, it's what are you going to do? I mean, the cream rises to the top, right? So the barrier for entry is low. We can all do it. And, the best will reign supreme.
There were several shots taken at me there, TJ, but I dodged most of them. I feel pretty good.
Are you in your mom's basement?
No, this is my own house, TJ.
Look at that. See?
There you go.
Coming up in the world, dude, I don't know. Literally, I went from an FM radio station in Minneapolis. I was the youngest DJ in the country in a major market. And I quit that to work for SureDog.com full time. And I moved from an FM studio to my parents' garage. And I was making more money that way, which doesn't sound like that would be an honest fact, but it's true. And now, do people even listen to does the FM radio still exist? I'm not even sure.
Goodness knows. I hope that all the fans, viewers, and listeners of this podcast only listen to this podcast on repeat, TJ. 127 episodes deep. I mean, they've got plenty of backlog to go through, right? So, we're here, man. And Ringside Raine just started joining me, so I'm really happy to have her. She was a guest just a few episodes ago, like I was telling you. I've been following her career forever. She announced at WWE SummerSlam, sorry. And
get the F out, dude. That's 20 years ago.
Hey, that's my era, man. So to me, that's it. I don't know.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. I produce a wrestling podcast called The Lapsed Fan. I don't know if you know anything about that, but the average episode is between 6 and 8 hours.
Okay, good.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Next time I travel cross country, I'll boot up an episode. TJ, you are, man, like I'm saying, I'm a huge fan of yours. Thank you so much for doing this. You have been the voice of Invicta for as long as I know. I was surprised to realize over the last few, I thought maybe TJ's just kind of, on vacation or something, but you are no longer with Invicta. And
I left in January of 2022. To this date, I will still say that getting the opportunity in Invicta was the biggest break, if you will, of my career. I love Invicta very, very much. I pay attention to all their fight cards. The run that I had from 2015 until 2022 was some of the best times I've ever had in mixed martial arts. And, I will never, ever say anything negative or bad about Shayna Knapp because there's nothing to say negative or bad about Shayna Knapp. And I miss that team a lot. And unfortunately, I had to move on because my schedule was just insane doing the stuff that I'm doing with Fight Pass. But man, yeah, some of the most fun I've ever had in my career was with Invicta.
Man, your voice was synonymous with Invicta. And it made that show, that it just elevated that show. I felt like you had a real unique voice. I love that it was you. I love Joe Martinez in the ring, who's been a guest of this podcast as well. And just so you know, TJ, when I told Joe Martinez that you were coming on, he says, that dude is the best. He says he is one of the best in the business. He had nothing but high praise for you. He did tell me that you wear Adidas shoes with suits. And he also said that you're an Iowa football loyalist, even after the Buckeyes reign supreme.
Yeah, so I married a Hawkeye, so I don't have a choice in the matter. I have to cheer on for Iowa. And I don't wear Adidas shoes with suits. I wear Adidas shoes with everything. That's all I wear. Superstar, shell toes. They're comfortable. They look great. And, I don't know, whatever. No one is ever going to pay attention to me for my fashion sense. So why even bother trying?
No, man. No, you've got the glasses, which was a unique look that developed later in your career. With the glasses, I felt that added a spark.
Astigmatism developed later in my career. Absolutely.
Hey, all three of us are dealing with eye issues. But I do want to say, you have such a unique voice. And I feel that really is so important for organizations to have a unique voice. Raine, my wife, when she heard your voice, when she heard your announcing, she goes, oh, Raine sounds so different than the normal announcer, because a lot of announcers, they just copy the Bruce Buffer style. You know what I mean? But Raine, being female as well, but you have a unique voice. And those are the things that to me really stand out. TJ, I wanted to ask you, how important is it that an announcer for an organization have a unique voice?
I mean, it's a fine line. I think it definitely is a plus, but as I mentioned, I come from FM radio, and when I first got on the air when I was 16, their biggest advice was don't sound pukey. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain it to you. If you're an on-air guy with a radio voice, generally you sound like this. You're about to throw up. Don't be that guy. I think that I don't think my voice on the air is too much different than my conversational voice, like I'm talking to you guys now. But I have been very conscious of trying to get excited and convey exciting moments without it sounding forced or canned. And I'm not going to say that it's 100% authentic, because, when you're on the air and you're trying to tell a story, you have to give it a little extra than you would if you were hanging out with your friends in the living room. Because when I call fights, obviously I say many things with lots of words. When I am sitting in my living room, I'm like, oh crap. Oh my goodness. Oh crap. So it's definitely a conscious effort, but, it's not one in the sense that I feel like my voice is 100% different from who I am, generally speaking. It's just, luckily, I don't sound terrible. I mean, if I was, shrill when I started screaming or getting excited, I probably wouldn't have a job. So I got that going for me. But conscious effort a little bit, but not really at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you think, Raine? You like this guy's voice? You like the
I do. I remember when you sent me his YouTube link, I was like, oh my God. I told my husband too, listen to this guy. I love his voice. And I actually, was very curious. Was there a point wherein you kind of when you were starting, or even now, do you listen to yourself and be like, okay, maybe I should sound this way, or, maybe I should have said it kind of this way, more energetic?
I mean, so I obsess over things. I really like alliteration. So when I was calling Felicia Spencer's fights at Invicta, I remember she fought Pam Sorensen, and I said it was a fun featherweight fight between the flawless and phenomenal Floridian Felicia Spencer and Pam Sorensen. So I like to do things like that. If with Invicta, I would say it's a strawweight scrap, bantamweight bout, featherweight fight, flyweight fight, etc. So I would have fun with things like that. But for the most part, I think as far as, changing my voice or trying to pay attention to anything, one was just, learning how to throttle up and down the excitement, because you don't ever want to just become screaming and yelling at someone, right? When I get really excited and scream, it's weird. I hear my dad in my head screaming at me because I didn't put my bike away or something. You know what I mean? So I try not to get to that point. But yeah, I would say I probably called maybe 30 fights before I ever got to Invicta. And I think the first time I ever felt like I understood my own voice and could control it was when I called a Cyborg fight and she fought Charmaine Tweet. And that was like, okay, I got to do more of that. That's sort of unbridled yet controlled enthusiasm and excitement. And, you don't want to distort the microphone, but you also don't want to be like, oh, there's a knockout. Awesome.
Yeah, that sounded good. I'll cut that and play that over some clips, TJ.
Right, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to be super canned either. Do you know what I mean? No offense to Mike Goldberg. I think Mike Goldberg, honestly, in my opinion, is the greatest play-by-play announcer in the history of mixed martial arts. But towards the end of his UFC run, it did sort of go, oh, hit the button. It is all over. Just like that. And it's like, it wasn't just like that, man. It happened in 4 minutes of the fourth round. But you wonder if that was perhaps pushed on by the promotion. I wonder if the promotion says, hey, you got to do that, which leads me to one of the questions that people had written in asking. And obviously you don't have to say who or what, and it might've been you or it might've been someone else that has a promotion ever told you, hey, look, this fight is coming up. We need you to push this guy. Never have.
But TJ, you hear that in UFC fights and stuff like that, right? There's a lot of time where the internet is you can hear the commentators saying, oh, what a punch, every time that guy punches, and he's not even landing. The internet is abuzz with thinking that there's bias in that stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think that bias is all that directed, if you will. I think that I've called fights and seen fights a certain way, where it wasn't necessarily the way that people saw at home, and it wasn't because someone told me to. There are a lot of things that go, for example, Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. I scored that bout 48-47 for Pantoja, barely giving Pantoja the fifth round, in my opinion, just because of the back take. But I haven't gone back and watched it. But I will tell you, I was shocked to see most people had a scorecard of 49-46 for the Brazilian, but in the building, there were a lot of Brandon Moreno fans. And I think that the atmosphere and energy will push you into a direction that is not always necessarily the truth. And, again, no one has ever said be over complimentary to this person. No one's ever said anything to me other than call the fight the way that you see it. And I do think that there are a lot of times people get on commentators, maybe not unfairly, because if it's egregious, it's egregious, but I don't think that it's ever an honest decision where they're going yeah, I'm just going to say this because I need to manifest this like I'm Israel Adesanya.
Yeah. We had a long talk.
Come on, we manifested this. Come on.
Yeah, no. I'm pausing because we had a long talk about that on our last podcast about the Adesanya thing, and I'm still buzzing from it. I'm still posting stories about it. People are still going crazy about it. I go on that forever, TJ. But another question that came in was, this is a funny one. Do you think it's weird when after an announcer has left an organization that the organization continues to use that announcer's calls in promo reels? And
no, absolutely not. Because what are you going to do? You're going to have someone fake that call for that fight ending?
No. But pick another fight. The guy, we're talking when it's champions, they've had plenty of fights, plenty of other commentators, but they.
Sure.
I'm gonna call it out, TJ. One FC continues to use Michael Chavello's voice, who is right up there with you, my friend, in terms of a great calling voice. One FC has, nobody knows the story of what happened with Michael Chavello, but he's no longer with One FC. But in every promo, they're using his voice.
So my question is, are they using his voice in generic terms, or are they using his voice on fight ending sequences because they're promoting a guy who he called?
Good night, Irene.
Yeah. Okay. So
over, but.
Well, so here's the thing, in getting back to the Mike Goldberg comment where I said it's all over just like that, there's a fine line between, continuity and a crutch. And I feel sometimes commentators lean on crutches rather than, hitting sort of a tagline repeatedly because they know people like it. If they're using Goodnight Irene, and it's not tied to a certain fight that they're promoting, like let me think of one, for example, like what's a good call? I can't even think one off the top of my head. Can you think of a good call? What's John Anik said lately? So and so does it again, or
not cut. That's not the cloth from which he is cut.
Yeah, but no. But what I'm saying is, like, do you remember a fight, an individual fight with someone that call is synonymous with that fight?
Oh, no. Oh, right. No, because he says it all the time.
Right. So Julie Kedzie and I called that aforementioned Chris Cyborg and Charmaine tweet fight. And Julie said, well, that was terrifying. Now, if you're going to use, well, that was terrifying, it needs to be because you're showing a clip of that fight. Yes. If you're just showing a highlight of anybody and you say that was terrifying, well, why are you grabbing that line from a fight that has nothing to do with the person that you're trying to promote? That would be poor taste. Like, if Bruce Buffer left the UFC and they still used It's Time repeatedly, because that's not tied to anything other than a main event, that's in poor taste.
Okay.
But hopefully I'm making sense.
No, you are. And I do want to also give a shout out to Shannon Knapp, because TJ, like you said, I wanted to double back on that. Every single female fighter that we've had that has had any part to do with Invicta has always said nothing but the greatest stuff about Shannon and Invicta and about that organization.
Shannon would probably be better suited business-wise if she wasn't such a great person. You know what I mean? Like, think about that. Like, in business, she will go against what is the better decision for her company and her brand to let someone go to the UFC. And,
right.
That's something that is really hard to find in combat sports, especially. It is a sport where, look, you sign a contract, you're exclusive 99% of the time. You're going to be fighting that contract out to the letter of the law. But Shannon is someone who wants to make people's dreams come true and be, Shannon always said this to me long before I ever left Invicta. But she said, no matter what, I want people to come here, do their best, have fun. But when they, leave, to pay it forward. And I think that is something that, the world would be a much better place if we all paid it forward. And, that's why, I would get an Invicta tattoo. I don't have a tattoo on my body right now. I would get the Phoenix and the star on my body if I had to get a tattoo.
Yeah. Raine, how many tattoos do you have?
None so far. I used to have tattoos of a Hello Kitty, but
see, like my father had sleeves, like full sleeves. So like me getting a tattoo is conforming to my parents. So like I'm very much a rebel by not getting any tattoos.
Yeah. I think we've only had maybe one fighter that has no tattoos on, and that was the Monkey King, Jordan Levitt. He has no tattoos, and we said, "Hey, you're setting a UFC record here by maintaining no tattoo," because it was,
I just don't like anything enough generally to put it on my body forever. You know what I mean? And like, no offense to like my wife and child. I just think the name thing is a little played out at this point.
Yeah, cliche,
you know what I mean?
So, yeah. So nothing but the Invicta logo, you mean?
I mean,
it's a cool logo. That is a cool logo.
For sure. And their belts are amazing too.
TJ, it's amazing that you say that, because there was someone posting the other day, and it was like, some Instagram post or whatever, and it was showing all the different organizations' belts, and they were ranking the belts and which ones looked the coolest. And I messaged right away going, "You're missing the Invicta belt. The Invicta belt stands out amongst all, like by far." I really like that belt.
100%. And so on the tattoo front, like my job, I've been working 40 plus hours a week since I was 15 years old. My job has always been sort of an identity for me. So like if I were to get a tattoo or any tattoo, it probably would be something to like symbolize my journey through broadcasting.
Very, very cool. You're talking to a 4-time Emmy Award winner, by the way.
Dang.
Are we talking to John Cena?
No, you, Raine. Don't be modest. TJ, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, I found it weird when sometimes the announcers will start to get a little bit personal with the fighters in terms of their grudges with them. And most recently, and again, we're not talking badly about anyone, but in one case where John Anik kind of commented quite a bit about Colby Covington, and they seemed to have like a bit of a personal thing, or he was kind of commenting on him. And I thought, I don't know. And again, I'm asking you, like, would organizations be disapproving of that? Like where their commentators start to have a personal issue with fighters?
I mean, I don't know in regards what you're referring to, what John said about Colby. I know that there are a lot of things to say about Colby that Colby might not like that are 100% the truth. Sure. At the same time, like I try to be as neutral as possible. I don't recall a time where I've ever heard John say anything in particular that I thought was opinionated. Like, really, to me, the play-by-play guy is really supposed to be, in my opinion, void of opinion. They're supposed to basically say, so like, let me give you the example. I've given this a lot, and I firmly believe that I have sort of a unique, outlook on play-by-play voices in combat sports and sports as a whole. A lot of play-by-play guys tend to want to be part of the spotlight and be part of the moment. My opinion is, when I am, calling fights, I look at it as like a sightseeing tour. I'm the bus driver. My color commentator is the tour guide. They're going to be the ones that tell you really everything that you need to know, the insightful things. Like if we were driving down, Hollywood Boulevard, and, I was a bus driver, I would give a nod to the tour guide to go, look, there's the Hollywood sign. And they would go, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Hollywood sign. It originally said Hollywoodland. It was built in 19 something or other. I've given this analogy a lot. I've never actually looked at when the Hollywood sign is built. I need to. This should actually be really educational. But my point is this, is if I have knowledge, or if I have an opinion about anything going on in a fight, I will use that knowledge and opinion to ask a question to my color commentator to deliver that information in a more educated way. Because, unless you're Joe Rogan, all the color commentators in the UFC are former fighters. And I feel like they're the ones that should be giving you the technical advice. I may know that someone needs to get out of the half guard if they're going to finish this arm triangle, but instead of saying they need to get out of this half guard to finish the arm triangle, I'm going to say, oh, still caught in that half guard, Julie. What do they need to do to finish this?
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, right. Excellent. You know what I mean? And that's what makes you the consummate professional, TJ. Working with Julie Kedzie, I always loved you guys. I always loved your dynamic. I loved that it was a male and a female. I like that. Do you think that added to the success of Invicta, that there was the male and female on that desk?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Julie's she hates this word, and if she ever watches this, she's gonna call me and tell me to stop.
She's watching for sure, TJ.
She's a pioneer. You know what I mean? She hates that word. And I understand why. A lot of pioneers generally look at pioneers of anything and say, well, they weren't as good as the people that followed them. I don't think that's the case. I think Julie was a phenomenal fighter for more reasons than just being one of the first to do what she did. And she's a unique person on the mic, off the mic. I love Julie so very much. I miss working with her tremendously. We had a dynamic. You know what I mean? I remember, I like to do subtle things that no one understands or even really gets unless they're really paying attention. I remember Julie one time said a word, I think it was ebullient, and I don't know what that means, but I asked her what it meant. And are you going to get a dictionary right now? I don't know where you're going. I asked her what it meant, and she told me. And then 2 fights later, I made sure to use ebullient in a sentence. So if you were paying attention, you're like, oh, look at that. He didn't even know what that word was. And 2 fights later, he's using it. Look at this guy. But yeah, like, again, Invicta does so many things and has done so many things, whether on purpose or by accident. It really doesn't matter. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I was there, people were like, this upcoming fight card doesn't have anybody. The UFC just took all the Invicta talent. Why should I pay attention? And then you watch the fight card and it's like, oh crap, that was like event of the year. You had a whole bunch of fights that were amazing and phenomenal. And that's one thing that I think is true, whether it's, Invicta, LFA, CFFC, any fight card on any given night. It doesn't need to have the A-list combat sport personalities that when two grown adults get into a cage and decide to fight, mayhem and carnage can happen. And that's why it's the greatest sport in the world.
Yeah, damn right. Raine is entering the world of MMA, and Raine, that's what you're going to see, right? Raine announces the amateur events at UNF. No better place to where that is evident, TJ, because it's the amateurs that you do not know. They're up and coming, up next fighting. Boom. And then they put on incredible performances. So.
Yeah, I hate to say this too, but like growing up in the Midwest, I would go to local fights all the time. And a lot of times the less skilled fighters, when matched up correctly, had the best fights. And what I mean by that is like if you took two 170-pound wrestlers from the state of Minnesota who were state qualifier wrestlers and didn't really know how to kickbox, you were going to get the best kickboxing match you could hope for, because neither of them could take each other down and they were forced to stand in front of each other and trade. And sloppy fights tend to be exciting fights. Like, let's not pretend that, Bonner and Griffin was this amazing technical showcase. It wasn't. It was sloppy and grimy, and that's what we all loved because they were both going for it. And at the end of the day, two athletes that refuse to quit and refuse to lose, they're going to put on the best fights.
That's right. And that's what we get to see. TJ, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you said we could go 6 hours, but I won't keep you 6 hours. Comment on PFL buying Bellator. As a man in the industry, if PFL buys Bellator, do you think that's a good thing for the industry? And the reason I'm talking about it is because I feel like then there's not twice as many places for people to go. There's not twice as many opportunities for commentators. There's not twice as many opportunities for announcers.
Competition breeds success. I think that, I don't know. I haven't really looked at what that would mean for the sport as a whole. I'm not completely sold on the league concept, especially after what happened not long ago where the will to win by two fighters was questioned, and I don't even know how that shook out.
And they boot them out just so they can put in their recent prospect. Yeah.
Like I don't really understand that. I think Bellator has history. I think Bellator would be an interesting purchase for anybody because you're definitely changing the landscape. I don't really have an opinion on it. As far as opportunities for announcers and things like that, there's really only one big show, two big shows, if you will, in the United States. I don't really care who I work for. I just want to work. I would love to call the best fights in the world. Some of my career highlights are calling, top 5 ranked fighters in their weight classes. I got to do that in Invicta. I hope that my skills, bring me to where I'm, valued, and I want to call the biggest fights that I can. And, but at the same time, I'm pretty good if someone's paying me to call a match between those two 170-pound wrestlers who can't take each other down and just throw a really sloppy kickboxing combo.
That's right. Raine, before we let TJ go and I ask my last question, is there anything that you definitely wanted to ask?
I guess for me, what stood out the most was when you said, paying it forward, right? Because I've met, I feel like I'm still starting out in the industry too. And I've reached out to a lot of announcers, people who have been doing this for a long time. And some of them have been really kind to me, like Joe Martinez. I remember reaching out to him on LinkedIn and he responded to me, gave me some advice. And I always appreciated that because that's what led me basically to Up Next Fighting. He basically kind of told me, hey, try looking up, promoters online, send them your reel, blah, blah, blah. So for you, do you feel like sharing, who's basically the Joe Martinez for you? Like that person who basically kind of taught you, your steps in the industry and, kind of gave you that inspiration to pay it forward.
There's so many things I want to say here. First off, you sound like a female Joe Martinez, which is a high compliment. I think Joe is one of the cleanest ring announcers there are. The way that, like, he doesn't have a gimmick. You know what I mean? He is just a consummate professional, well dressed, and delivers names in just a engaging, clear, awesome way. Like, next to Bruce Buffer, there's no one better, in my opinion, than Joe Martinez. That said, I get asked a lot, how do I get to where you are, in terms of my career? And my honest answer is, like, I don't know, get a flux capacitor and go back to 2002 and start when I did, because it's really hard to break into. But I will say this, I'm a big, goals person. Like, I set goals, and I actually created an acronym. This sounds really cheesy. I'm not trying to be like a motivational speaker here, but if you can follow along, write down goals vertically. G stands for goals. O stands for opportunity. A stands for adjustment. L stands for love, and S stands for support. You have to set goals. You have to create opportunity or find opportunity. Sometimes you create it. Sometimes someone affords it to you. You have to adjust to make those opportunities work. You have to love what you're doing, and you have to find a support system to get you through tough times, because this is a business that is going to test your patience and dedication over and over and over again until you stop. As far as people giving me the opportunity, the O part of my goals acronym, there are 4 people I would say that I owe everything to. One is Jeff Sherwood. He started SureDog.com. He allowed me to start the SureDog Radio Network in 2005. I worked there for the better part of 12 years. Maybe he's calling now.
Yeah, ears were ringing.
Exactly. So Jeff was phenomenal. For me, I won't surprise you. The other one is Shannon Knapp. Shannon gave me my first ever opportunity to call what I call a big time MMA show on no notice, by the way. I was at Invicta FC 11's photo or weigh-ins taking photos, and then I ended up calling the card 24 hours later, which is absolutely crazy. And then Eddie Bravo gave me the opportunity to do the Eddie Bravo Invitational, and then Crowley Sullivan, who's my boss at UFC Fight Pass. And you have to figure out who genuinely wants to work with you and give you opportunities. And like I said, do the best you can. Hopefully you can pay it forward to someone else along the way. And going back to the L part of my acronym, love what you do, because this is a game that if you do not love it, you are not going to make it very far. I don't think anybody in the world ever starts fighting in combat sports because they think they're going to be a millionaire. I think they all start fighting because they love martial arts. They love what the sport represents, and everything else is icing on top. And I honestly think that pretty much every other job in the space operates on that fundamental foundation of you love this and you want to do it.
I love that.
I feel bad asking any other questions. TJ, that is a mic drop moment, my friend. I love it. I love the goals.
Microphones. You know how expensive they are?
Oh yeah.
We gotta start a coalition to end the whole mic drop movement. We're fragile.
Yeah. TJ, I did want to ask you one last question before we let you go. And it's a question that we're asking all our guests. It's a question that my mother asked me all my life growing up. And I want to ask it to you, TJ DeSantis, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
Like in this moment or overall?
However you want to take it, my friend.
I will say I'm happy. I don't think you can quantify happiness. I think you go to bed at night, you lay your head on your pillow, you sort of rewind through your day. And if it was a good day, generally more good days are going to end up in you being overall happy. I think that there is a misconception sometimes between happiness and complacency. I never have what I want in life, because the minute I have it, I change my mind and want something bigger and better and different. So I'm happy. Am I satisfied? Absolutely not. I never will be.
I love it. Great answer, TJ. Yeah, amazing. I love it. TJ, this has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. I admit that I was very, very nervous to have someone of your expertise on the show. You're
ridiculous.
Sound. I messed up. I stood up for a second, but I'm nervous, TJ. I'm nervous.
Here's the problem. I started this whole podcast thing back in 2004 when it wasn't television. Like, why does everything got to be in television? Man, I just wanted a job where I didn't have to shave, so I got into radio, and now, man, like I'm this close to putting makeup on as I turn 40.
Yeah, there you go, TJ. TJ, before we let you go, is there anything else that you wanted to say to the fans, viewers, and listeners of the podcast?
Let's see here. You check out Extra Rounds. It's a show I do for UFC Fight Pass. We got a lot of things going on. I'm actually the program director of Podcast Central on UFC Fight Pass, which sounds way more important than it actually is, but we get a lot of offerings behind the paywall on UFC Fight Pass. I produce It's Time with Bruce Buffer. That podcast has been going on since 2008. You can do the math on how many years that's been. It's been a lot. What else? I produced the Laps Fan Wrestling Podcast, which is basically an audiobook about professional wrestling when it used to be better, because let's be honest, it used to be better, but every generation says that. The pro wrestling of everyone's childhood used to be the best. So, but check out the Laps Fan. I think that's it. Oh, Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds. That's coming up here. I'm calling that, on UFC Fight Pass on, July 30th. And then, I'm also calling some boxing fights, coming up here on July 22nd, which is next week, in Chumash, somewhere near Santa Barbara here in Southern California. That's also on UFC Fight Pass. So, follow me on Twitter at TJ DeSantis. I apparently have threads. I don't really know what that means, but that's at TJ DeSantis and something else. I don't know.
Yeah, I got it scrolling down at the bottom as well. Your Instagram as well is at TJ DeSantis. So people go follow TJ. You know who he is. You hear him all the time. Support his work. TJ, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I am very gracious of your time and your efforts here. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you do, because you are one of the best, man. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. And Raine, you're awesome.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You'll see more of her, TJ, for sure.
I'll follow you. Thank you.
See you guys. Take care, TJ.
See ya.
All right. There we go. Oh, my goodness. Such high praise for you, Raine. I feel like I can't wait till he sees you one day on UFC Fight Pass, and he's like, wait, I know that girl. She interviewed me, right? So, yeah, no, he is really cool. I will say, could you hear like air coming out of my microphone at all?
No. Could you hear my dog for some reason? He decided to just do this.
I could only hear him a little bit at one point, but okay, so you couldn't hear air coming through my mic? No? Okay, good, because the window was open, because my cat wanted the window open. It was a whole thing. I do want to say thank you so much to TJ DeSantis. He, honestly, Raine, I know that you're kind of new to the MMA world, but him calling fights for me has always been such a pleasure. His voice is perfect. Like, and it's got to be different. I know he didn't want to say anything bad about other people, I know, but like, there's other organizations where everybody kind of sounds the same. Mm-hmm. Or like he said, how he cares about the alliteration and stuff like that of his words and things like that. There's other people that just aren't polished. Yeah. And I get it. Not everyone's going to be polished, but he works at it, you know, and look at this guy. He's been around for like however many decades.
Yeah.
And he's still working at his craft. He's still putting in effort. And I love that, because it shows, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've said this before on the podcast. I know there's a saying that says it's okay to not be okay. You know that saying?
Yeah.
I don't like that saying. I feel like the saying is it's not okay to not be okay. It's not okay to accept that you're not okay. Right? Like keep striving to be better. And that's what I love about TJ DeSantis. So I'm so happy that he came on this podcast, Raine. It's like, it's crazy to me that he did, because
like,
he's
I
so
love
cool.
listening to his voice. You know?
I know. Yeah. His voice is amazing. His voice is amazing. I will give a quick shout out as well to Rageworks Podcast Network. Of course, we're on there. Friends of the Podcast update. I do want to say Caitlin Katniss Neal, Raine. She is a fighter for the PFL. She just announced today. Now we're recording this a few weeks in advance, but she just announced today that she's going to be fighting at Madison Square Garden for the PFL August 18th. So congratulations to Caitlin Katniss.
Congratulations.
She's the best, Raine. She is so cool. And she's coming on the podcast soon to talk about that fight coming up. I'm so happy for her, because when we had her, she was just on the Ultimate Fighter reality show.
Okay. And
so she's gone on now to be part of the PFL. I'm so happy for her. And I did want to give a shout out. In the last few podcasts, maybe not when I've been talking to you, but I have been saying like I've been feeling like low energy. Like I just feel like kind of blah. that's why talking to people like you and TJ pumps me up, because I'm like, oh, here's these people that are kicking ass, and I like that. But I have been feeling low energy. I just got an order and I wanted to show it. I'm going to put this on my Instagram. But I feel like people too, like they get into a blah. Anyways, I just got this. So I don't know if you can see this. Here, this box. Can you see? It's called
Magic Mind.
Magic Mind. And I
love matcha.
Yeah, I just got this. And look how cool this box is. Boom! My 15-day supply. So this stuff, and you take one shot a day. Haven't tried it yet. I will try it soon. But it's got matcha, adaptogens, neurotropics, immunity. It boosts your energy, helps you relax, keeps you focused. This stuff is supposed to be amazing. So starting the next podcast, I'm going to start to take it, and I will report back to you guys how this is. Because I'm excited to see it, because I swear, Raine, episode 127, I think this is. I could cancel this podcast today, and I feel like I'd be like okay with it, but I don't want to give it up, because I'm meeting cool people, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm still having a good time and I do love it, but I feel like I need something to kind of like refocus, re-energize me. So I'm going to try out this Magic Mind, and you can use at Magic Mind website. You can go use code FightInsight20 and save 20% off, or save like 50% off a subscription. I'll figure out the more specific details, and I'll put the link in the show notes, but just check these guys out. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad to try this. Before we go on, I do want to say, so let's get to our next few topics, because we're short on time. Are you okay?
I'm cool for like a few more minutes. Yeah.
Really, really quick. We keep brushing by this topic, but really, really quick. Ngannou versus Fury. It was announced the day that we're recording this. It was just announced, I think, today. Very quickly, Raine, does Francis Ngannou have any chance in hell of beating Tyson Fury?
So here's my take on this. I feel like my analogy on this one is like he's going to, try something that's new. I feel like, and then he's going to try something new, and it's against someone who's really good at that thing.
Not really good. The best in the world.
The best. So it's kind of like, if I were to put money on someone, I'm going to put my money on Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
For the most part, this is his world. And I'm not saying that Francis doesn't know what he's doing, whatever. I feel like he is great, in his own, but I feel like if he's stepping into someone's world, with someone who is the best at what he does, I feel like it's kind of like not going to go well for Francis. So, and again, I feel like for MMA fighters, they're used to like, 5 rounds, right? I don't know. I guess if we do the math, it's going to come out the same, because like boxing is 12 rounds of around 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Well, who knows? Yeah, like we don't know what they're going to say for this.
That is true.
Like, who knows what they're going to do? But let's assume it's going to be like a 10-round fight or 12-round, right? Like you'd think they'd want it to be. But here's the thing. Here's my take. I don't think Tyson Fury lets Ngannou out of the second. Like, I think he murders him quick to put
round number one
if he can, just to put a statement on it and go, get the hell out of here. I don't want to see any of this crap anymore. Take your millions and go. And he just smashes them.
Okay, it's a good statement.
You know what I mean? Like, I think like he's going to be like, I'm not messing around here. This isn't Floyd Mayweather versus Conor, where it was like a show and they do their whole thing. And people said like Mayweather let him kind of stick around, I don't think so. I think Tyson Fury is too much of a man's man. I don't know if it's appropriate to say that, but he's too much of a man's man, and he's not going to take this. Also, you're talking heavyweight fighter. One clip might end it. So you can't risk it. You can't risk that Ngannou is going to land something that knocks you out.
Yeah, true.
So I think he finishes him real quick. And
true.
We will see. Next question. And again, we're just going to breeze through these topics. Next question, though. Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg. Do you think this is actually going to happen?
For the novelty side of this, I want it to happen. It reminds me of when the battle of the billionaires for at WrestleMania 23, Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon.
Right. Yes.
Well, that one, it wasn't them who fought each other, right?
Right.
So for this one, it's just like the novelty aspect of it that I want to see. But then again, to me, I would rather see like real MMA fighters, in the cage.
Yeah.
But I know they've been training, they've been doing
well, here, so as you talk about this, I'm going to put up some photos. I mean, Elon Musk training with George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these dudes are training. They're looking good. I mean, I posted a photo the other day. Mark Zuckerberg was posing with no shirt on with, who was it? A few other guys. Dude is ripped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fatter than the guy that made Facebook. Like, I was like so depressed, you know what I mean? like he's ripped. So all I'm saying is, I think I would say that it is going to happen. Dana White and the UFC, they're already selling t-shirts.
Oh my God, look at that shirt.
You can buy that shirt on UFC.com. Like, it's crazy. Like, I think it is going to happen. I think a lot of people are going like, this is never going to happen. I think somehow they're going to make a way that this actually happens. But,
yeah, because like, they've been training. So in my head, like, why not? I mean, if it's going to bring money in, so
that would make more money than anything. I think more people will buy that, because I think just anybody on the planet will buy that.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll just get to really, really quickly is, last week we talked about the Israel Adesanya thing with our guest Khalil Pearson, and we had a good talk. We didn't get to everything that I kind of wanted to say on it, because we found out about his crazy life and him being a professional musician. Like, it's crazy. If you haven't watched that podcast, go check it out. But one thing that was so funny that I wanted to say, because I asked you, I said, because you were born in the Philippines and then immigrated to the US and all that. For me, I guess the question, I put this on Twitter. I was born in Canada, born and raised, but my dad is from Hong Kong, and I look kind of Asian. Okay. Depending on who you are, you might see me as being Asian or not. And I put on Twitter, I said, well, my dad is born in Hong Kong. I was born and raised in Canada. Am I Canadian? Can I say I'm Canadian? Because that's essentially what Israel is saying that the other guy can't. He's saying you can't call yourself Canadian. Do you know that I put this on my Instagram, and I said, and then I put a poll out, and I said, am I Canadian? Am I Chinese? Or are you confused? As of the time of recording this, 56% said I'm Canadian. 12% said I'm Chinese. And the remainder 32% said, I don't know.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? That, like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, to think that people wouldn't say I'm Canadian, born and raised. I don't know. Raine, this world is a weird place.
It's weird. It's weird how, like, people think about, they get so much into like the technicalities. Like, for me, I was born and raised in the Philippines. I'm Filipino. When I moved here, after a few years, I became a naturalized citizen. And a few years after that, I applied for my dual citizenship. So now I'm like Filipino American citizen.
Yeah.
So it's like, does that make me less of a Filipino, or does that make me less of like a US citizen because I'm a dual citizen now? And it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's about like us respecting what, like each other. Like, if we want to represent ourselves as, Canadian, Filipino, African, Filipino American, whatever, I think it's just a matter of respecting each other, because it's like, for us, that's how we represent ourselves, and that's what's important to us,
I know. Just be kind to one another. Be kind. Be nice to one another,
Free to be kind. Just be kind.
It is. It really is.
Cost any money.
I know. It's so easy, right? I mean, I guess the other thing is that it's easy to be a jerk too. So that's the problem. But choose kindness. Choose kindness, choose being nice, be a good person. Raine, thank you so much for co-hosting with me again. I appreciate this so immensely. I know the people are loving you. I got so many messages when people going, Raine co-hosted this week. Like, the last week that you did, they're like, that's amazing. Like, Raine was so great. So thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I know. Thank you for having me. And it's really awesome to talk to TJ today. And just whenever, you want me back, let me know.
I definitely will. Ringside Raine, the people want you back. It's not just me. It's the people want you back. Raine, thank you so much. You're a pleasure as always. And guys, check out all the podcasts. We're going to end it here. If you're on audio, if you're on video, you'll see a couple of videos that you can select here. Ringside Raine, you're the best. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See ya.